My name is Carson Becke. I am the co-director of this series, and we're very happy that you could join us today in our virtual concert hall on this warm winter afternoon. You're all viewing our concert, as I said, from our virtual concert hall, so I'd like to take you through some of the features that are available to you in the virtual concert hall to make your concert viewing experience a bit more enjoyable. So first of all, you'll notice on the left-hand side of the media viewer, you can access the concert program for today's show by clicking on View Concert Program. And I'd suggest you have that up just so you get a sense of movements and what's coming up next. You can also make sure that we're playing the right pieces as we go through the program. On the right-hand side of the media viewer, you'll see a donate button. So, of course, you're viewing this concert for free this afternoon, but we would appreciate any donation that you're able to make. Normally, all of our donations go towards covering the cost of the concert at hand. Today is a little bit different. So as some of you might know, the horse business that also operates with us in this barn space is in a bit of a crisis. A deadly virus that I can only describe as the horse equivalent of COVID-19 has entered our barn, and we've already lost 3 horses to this virus. Our staff are fighting constantly 24/7 to try and keep the virus at bay, but it's a hard fight and it costs a lot of money. So we're going to be donating a portion of the proceeds from today's concert to that fight. At the intermission, after we finish playing the Schubert Fantasie for you, I'm going to be going downstairs into the barn and interviewing my sister Ray, who runs the horse business, to talk a bit more about the virus, a bit more about what the staff are doing, and how donations can help fight that problem. So that's where the majority of donations for today's concert will be going. There's a new feature on the virtual concert hall which anybody that's watched one of our concerts before will not have seen. If you look right underneath the virtual concert program, you'll notice that there's a button saying fill out our live stream survey. So after our last concert, we were talking and we realized that actually we don't know a lot about what you do when you're viewing a live stream concert. Of course, when people come to our concert hall, it's easy to observe audience habits because your audience is right in front of you. But it's a whole different experience when it's a live stream thing. We can do our thing on this end, we get feedback from you, but we don't really know that much about how you view the concert, and finding out more about that will really help us shape our future concerts. So if you take a minute to fill out that survey, we'd be very grateful, and the results of that survey will impact how we continue to present our live stream concerts. Finally, if you'd like the concert to go to full screen, if you'd like it to take up the entire picture in front of you, if you hover your mouse over the media viewer, there's a little square in the bottom right-hand corner that you can click on. If you click on that, it will send the concert to full screen. I would also encourage you to play with the volume controls and make sure that you're listening at a volume that's comfortable for you. If the quiet things are so quiet that you have to sort of put your face close to the computer screen, I would suggest raising the volume, and at the same time, if you feel like you're being attacked by your computer, then maybe lower the volume a little bit. So those are some of the things that are available to you in our virtual concert hall. At every concert, I say a big thank you to our sponsors, but for us to be doing what we're doing now is in no small part because of them and because of their continued support from March, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, all the way through now. Our sponsors have been loyal and supportive of what we're doing, and I would just like to say an individual thank you to every single one of them that's maintained their support through this very difficult time for the performing arts. So first of all, a big thank you to Dasha Schenkman, who I believe is viewing today's concert from her home in London, England. At this point, this is now, I guess, the 4th concert that Dasha has been able to join us for live. Before this, she wasn't able to see any, of course, because of the relatively large distance between London and the Pontiac. But so despite social distancing and despite the fact that nobody's able to travel, this live stream setup has enabled us to reach out to viewers that maybe otherwise wouldn't have been able to enjoy our concerts. So Dasha, a huge welcome to you back to our virtual concert hall today, and a big thank you for all your support. I would also like to say a big thank you to Marg Campbell, who faithfully attends every one of our concerts in person, and I believe has also attended all of our live stream concerts since we've started doing them in September of 2020. So Marg, thank you for your continued support and for all that you do for this series. A big thank you as well to Mark, Deb, and Jenna Rondell and the RBC Rondell Wealth Management Group. Mark and RBC have been supporters of the series since we started doing concerts here in 2009, and their support has continued to this day. So a huge thank you to you for your continued support for over a decade. So big thank you to Mark, Jenna, and Deb Rondell. Would also like to say thank you to the Desjardins Bank here in the Pontiac region, who has supported us over the years for a number of facility upgrades and now is a regular sponsor of the series. So a big thank you to Desjardins. Also a thank you to Norton Rose Fulbright, a law firm that's been supporting us for the past few years. A big thank you to them for their support. And finally to Bob and Sandra Barber, who live locally here in Luskville. Bob and Sandra are not the biggest fans of the virtual experience, but I think it's a big credit to them that they see the fact that if we don't do this, we really will not be able to put on concerts. So I appreciate their flexibility and their willingness to support us despite moving to the digital medium. And Bob and Sandra, I can't wait to welcome you back to a concert here in person as soon as possible. So again, a big thank you to all of our very generous sponsors for making this possible, and especially for today's concert, in which we're actually in a position to be able to give a portion of our proceeds to our partner business, the Horse Farm, which we wouldn't be able to do without very strong support from our sponsors. So that's an extra thing that your support has enabled us to do today. So thank you very much. Putting on a concert, not in a pandemic, is a difficult thing. There's lots of moving pieces and lots of people that are involved that make every event happen. Putting on concerts during a pandemic is a whole different matter. And I would just like to say some special thank yous to people and organizations that have contributed in various ways to make these concerts work. So first of all, you'll notice that I'm very well lit. And that's in no small part, thanks to the Mill Road Community Centre in Chelsea, Quebec, who lent us their excellent lighting rig to make sure that you could see us as well as possible. It wouldn't actually matter if we had good lighting if our internet connection wasn't stable, because you wouldn't be seeing anything at all. Internet connections at this point are very easy to maintain at a high speed in a city, but it's much more difficult to do that in a rural location. So I'd like to say a big thank you to Cliff Bellis and Pioneer Wireless for all they've done to make sure that we can have high-speed internet at a reliable consistency here, which enables us to live stream our concerts to you like we're doing right now. So a big thank you to Cliff and Pioneer Wireless. I'd also like to say a big thank you to Ross Murray, who is doing the sound today. The reason you can hear me clearly right now made me realize I actually wasn't holding my handheld mic, so you can actually now hear me even more clearly than you previously could. But a big thank you to Ross for this microphone and the sound in the room in general, and everything that he's done to make sure that you can hear everything that we're doing in this concert space from your home. You're not going to see this person because he's making sure that you can see us, but Tate Becke is the co-director of this series and is the guy operating all of the video footage today. So every time you see a camera change, Tate's doing that. Every time text comes up on your screen, Tate's doing that as well. So a big thank you to him for manning that side of this thing, but also for everything that he does to be a great partner in running this series together. So a big thank you to Tate for being a great co-director. And finally, we're in this wonderful facility at Venturing Hills Farm. A big thank you to my parents who own this property, who have allowed us to continue doing our concerts here despite the stricter social distancing regulations. They've trusted us to continue using the space. So a big thank you to Peter and Debbie for all they do to support Pontiac Enchanté as well. So again, a big thank you to everybody that's both sponsored this series and that helps in various ways to make these concerts happen. If this is your first concert, first of all, welcome to the Pontiac Enchanté, and welcome to the Venturing Hills Concert Studio. And I hope to be able to welcome you here in person sometime soon as well. The best way for you to keep coming back to our concerts and to stay in touch with us, find out what we're doing next, is for you to join our mailing list. You can do that very easily. You'll see an orange button on the right-hand corner, or in the right-hand corner of our website. It's on the menu bar. You'll see it. It says join our mailing list. Click on that and enter your email. We promise not to spam you with endless emails, but we send out 1 or 2 messages a month just saying what's coming up next, a few details about the program, and especially now it's important to be on that list because we don't know until relatively soon before each concert whether we're going to be able to welcome in-person viewers or not. So especially going forwards into the summer, that list is going to be essential for organizing how our concerts proceed. So if you're not on our mailing list, we'd encourage you to join now. If you're on Facebook, you can also follow our Facebook page where we post updates. We post some highlights, photos, and videos from past concerts. Go on Facebook and search Pontiac Enchanté and follow our page there as well. At this stage, that it just sort of leaves me to introduce my co-performer, Suren Berry. The two of us perform as Duo Octavian. We've played as a piano duo for a long time, but in the early stages of the pandemic, we both had a lot more time on our hands than we previously did. And we spent some of that time deciding what we should be called. It was a conversation that we'd had quite a few times over the years, and we would usually start with serious suggestions, and then the suggestions would get less and less serious as the conversation went on, and we ended up just not having a name. And then we decided, okay, we really should do this. So we settled on Duo Octavian for a few reasons. We obviously have a shared interest in music history. Suren's main interest in his doctoral studies was the music of Mozart and Mozart as a performer. My interest and my doctoral work was about Richard Strauss and also about his work as a performer. There happens to be a link between Richard Strauss and Mozart. Strauss was a big Mozart fan and in many ways reincarnated lots of the things that Mozart did in his time in the early 20th century. So we thought, okay, well, how can we use that connection between Mozart and Strauss to build a name that sort of has meaning for both of us in different ways? And we settled on Octavian because the character of Octavian in Strauss's opera Der Rosenkavalier is a reincarnation of the character Cherubino in Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro. So we thought that that was kind of a nice bridge between these two time periods. It also represents something that we like to do as a duo, and actually this program highlights, which is we like to delve into things that maybe aren't performed as often, and we like to question some of the relationships between performers and composers. We don't think that composers should have the last word on what's done. We think that performers should be an active part of the creative process, and we like playing music that allows us to do that, which was very much what Strauss was doing when he took the idea of Cherubino and reincarnated that character as Octavian in his opera. The sort of seal on the deal was that the name Octavian also resembles an octave on a piano, which is 8 notes apart. And so we thought, okay, well, there's a nice connection to the piano, there's a nice connection to both of us, and so that's why we are called Duo Octavian. So we're going to start today's concert with a performance of a very little-known arrangement of Bach's Italian Concerto by the early 20th century pianist Harold Bauer. So here is Bach's Italian Concerto in a version that you probably have not heard before.
All right. So that was, as Carson mentioned, Harold Bauer's arrangement of Bach's Italian Concerto. As you can hear, in a very romantic style, appropriately sort of an early 20th century romantic throwback. The next piece that we're going to play is also an arrangement by Harold Bauer, but I feel like it serves a very different sort of purpose. They're both arrangements by the same person, but in the case of the Italian Concerto, there was essentially a problem being solved. If you wanted to play the Italian Concerto on piano, the work is originally for harpsichord, and there are all sorts of cool things that you can do on the harpsichord that you can't necessarily do on the piano. So by essentially transcribing it for two pianos, Harold Bauer solves a problem. People want to play it. No one really plays the harpsichord in the early 20th century. So he rearranges it for two pianos and stays relatively faithful to the text. He doesn't change any harmonies. He doesn't add any lines. He doesn't abridge anything. The Schubert is a very different deal because the Schubert was originally a piano duet. So it already involved two pianists at a single piano. And by all accounts, it's one of Schubert's crowning achievements, not just for piano duet, but just in his output in general. So Bauer here isn't really solving a problem in the same way. Surely two pianists can just play their individual parts that they would have found in the duet on two separate pianos. So what's the issue? Why bother arranging it? And I think in this case, as Carson mentioned earlier, this idea that the composer always has the final say on the matter is, I think, somewhat creatively limiting. And I feel like Bauer was so touched by this piece that he felt like he wanted to say something more about it. He's not contradicting composer's intentions or anything. He just thought it was so beautiful, and perhaps there were some missed opportunities that catered to more contemporary tastes. So to those of you who know the duet, I'm sure you'll be able to hear what's different. It's definitely shorter. And there are all kinds of added contrapuntal lines. There's little Mahler references. But I have to say, I envy those of you who've never heard the duet before, and that this will be sort of your first foray into the original Schubert work. And then perhaps when you hear or go to listen to the Schubert work afterwards, you'll have a totally different perspective that I actually could never have had. So this is the Schubert duet for two pianos. This is a Schubert duet for one piano, arranged by Harold Bauer for two pianos.
So welcome to the barn space below our concert hall. Those of you that have attended concerts here will have seen this space as you walk through to go upstairs to the concert space. Those of you who have only joined us for our live stream concerts will never have been down here. So this is what happens underneath where we host our concerts. This is my sister, Ray Becke. Again, those of you that have been here for concerts will know me and you'll know my brother Tate, but you may not have seen Ray because she's the one that takes care of things down here at the Venturing Hills Equestrian Horse Business. As many of you will know, we're experiencing a pretty difficult situation here at Venturing Hills Farm right now. And this concert is a fundraising event to try and raise the funds to do what we can to support that situation. So I just wanted to talk a bit to Ray, and I wanted Ray to explain to you what's going on and what we need to be raising money for today. So Ray, can you maybe tell everybody what's been going on, bring us up to speed?
Absolutely. So a really easy way to look at what all of the horses have right now is horse COVID. So it's called EHV1, or the equine herpes virus, of which there are two strains. There is the wild type and the neurological type. Unfortunately, after testing some of our horses, we know that they have what's called the neurologic type of the disease. This is a much higher mortality rate than the wild strain and causes long-term damage for those that don't have mortality in their future. So basically the horses have anywhere from a 20 to 80% chance of mortality when the virus strikes them, and we have to do everything we can to support them in order to get them through. Just like with COVID, there is no cure, there is only support that we can give to the horses in their time of need. We have 24 horses inside right now. Actually, I guess I should say we had 24 horses inside at the beginning of all of this. Unfortunately, we have lost 3 horses so far, the third being yesterday. And yesterday we also sent one to the equine hospital in St. Hyacinthe, Montreal. So now we have 18 sick horses remaining and 5 healthy horses remaining inside.
Well, I was just going to ask, actually, how did the virus get here in the first place? I mean, this type of thing doesn't just happen, and also it is obviously really contagious. So can you maybe speak about how the virus arrived and then how it spreads as well?
Absolutely. So statistically speaking, this virus does live in the equine population. About 40 to 60% of horses are carriers of this virus. However, statistically speaking, the most likely way that this virus came to the farm is that on January 15th, I purchased a horse from the Greater Toronto area and brought him back to our farm. He, by all symptoms today, was healthy and continues to be healthy. He has been vaccinated for the virus. Of course, this vaccination only works for the more normal strain of the virus, the rhino side of it all. And it has proven not to be effective in the neurological side of things. As an asymptomatic carrier, we had no idea there was a risk to the farm, and he came into our farm as a healthy horse, still as a healthy horse, and spread the virus without us really knowing, similar to that of somebody who has COVID and is an asymptomatic carrier. And by the time we knew anything was wrong, Eddie was showing symptoms on February 3rd around 4 p.m., and he had already passed away by 10:30 p.m. At that point, we didn't know what was going on. We thought maybe he had something like meningitis, an infection in the brain, or potentially some sort of aneurysm that caused all of this. We did swab testing immediately and took blood tests, and when we got the results back, it showed that we did, in fact, test positive for EHV1, the neurological strain. That horse that passed away first was both paddock buddies with the new horse that came in and stall buddies where they could touch noses, and the virus transfers just like that, from nose to nose, through a cough within a range of 35 feet, and on people in their clothes, their hands, a hair especially. And horses like to smell you, they like to sniff you, they like to see what's going on. It can be as easy as that. I touched one healthy horse, and then I go touch another healthy horse. One of them happened to be a carrier, and we didn't know it. I've now given it to another horse, and they could actually get all of the symptoms, unlike the other asymptomatic carrier. So because of that, we've had to put extremely intensive biosecurity protocols in place for both our healthy staff and our sick staff. So we've broken up our staff team into 2 different areas. There are 2 to 4 staff members taking care of all of the healthy horses on this farm. There are 16 healthy horses still outside right now that live in paddocks outside in 3 different groups, all of whom are healthy right now. So we're doing our very best in order to keep them that way. And the 5 horses in the back stalls, also healthy. We wear biosecurity suits in each area, a different biosecurity suit. So there's no chance of bringing it from one group to the other group. We spray ourselves down with alcohol, and whenever we're checking temperatures, we're using hydrogen peroxide to decontaminate the thermometers. It's been proven that the virus lasts a really long time on anything that has manure on it. We're working with horses, so anything that causes manure to be in contact with it, we need to use something very, very, very strong to kill the virus. That means especially on boots, thermometers, pitchforks, anything. It can last for a very long time. Hence the thousands of dollars of disinfectant that we've used so far and will continue to use for the next unknown period of time, as well as every other protocol that we can put in place between disinfecting every single product, having clients that are coming to see their healthy horses wear gowns that we are washing every single night, and then having our sick staff only operate within the barn itself and the care of the sick horses. Of course, we're still doing everything we can because we add to the viral load every time we go from one horse to the other horse. It's not something that's ideal. So we're trying our best to still disinfect our hands, change our clothes as much as we can. We do want to spend time with the sick horses and give them as much love as we can, but we just have to be careful of what we're bringing from horse to horse. So we've given them things like stuffed toys to find love, and we have special people coming in who are assigned to one horse to brush them and give them love, so that no matter what, we can give them the emotional support that they need as well as the physical support that they need, which is medication administration and temperature checks every 2 hours round the clock. Which means that since February 6th, we have been administering meds and doing round-the-clock care 24/7 every 2 hours for over 2 weeks now, and we don't know when we're going to be stopping. The horses need our help. This can change so fast. The horse that we lost yesterday was trotting around at 7 a.m. and was no longer able to stand and hold herself by 10 a.m. She continued to fight as long as she could to support herself. But the virus has a really dark side, and when it goes neurological, eventually they lose complete motor control of their back legs and bladder, and there's nothing else we can do for them. It's really hard to watch, and it only happens on day 6 or 7 of the virus. They get sick with a high fever at the beginning for the first 4 or 5 days, and it's actually once the fever goes away that you need to worry. Those are the days to be careful and cautious, day 5 to 7. As you watch them, you walk them, you see how they behave, any little symptoms of shaking or anything, and there's only so much we can do. It's really just watching, observing, and giving support when we can. If we start to see a horse exhibiting symptoms mildly of the neurologic type, then we can add other medications to support it as much as we can, but when it goes that way, there's really limited options for what we can do. One thing is, when we start to see even the chance of neurologic symptoms, is shipping them to St. Hyacinth's, where they do have slings, padded cells, and the ability to support and keep a horse happy for months if they need in that sling, and give them the support to empty their bladder and all of those things that we just can't do here on a regular farm, unlike a hospital. So
I was going to ask as well, so you've kind of talked about the types of care, pretty intensive care that all the horses need, but there's also this fundraising campaign that's going on to try and support that care financially. So apart from, of course, there's lots of extra people that are here around the clock now that wouldn't have been in a normal situation. So I know that some of the fundraising is going towards supporting those people and making sure that they can be here. So maybe if you could talk a bit about what kind of special expertise is needed, but also what else are we fundraising for? Why do we need to keep raising money? How much money are we looking to raise, and what's it going towards?
So when we break down the costs of an approximation of what this virus is going to cost for each horse, we're looking at around $4,000 or $5,000 a horse at best. Each round of antiviral medication is $2,000 a horse. So far, we have all 24 horses on round 1 of this medication. That medication lasts for 12 days. If they need to do a second round, which many of them will, it will be another $2,000. They receive 6 shots of a blood thinner called heparin when the minute they start to show symptoms of a fever. Each one of those 6 shots is $80 a shot. After that, they switch onto half a tab of aspirin every 12 hours. Each one of those aspirin tablets costs a certain amount. I haven't broken it down yet, but it's expensive. They need to be administered in oral syringes, which we cannot reuse more than once or twice. It starts to add up. The thermometers that we use for checks every 2 hours only last about 24 to 48 hours because since they are used rectally, they can bend and they can warp, and as soon as they do that, they start to give us false readings, which we cannot risk with the horses right now. The temperature changes are extreme and they happen fast. A horse's normal temperature is 37.5 to 38.5, and we have horses reaching temperatures of 40.9 and dropping down to 36.0 a couple hours later. It's really extreme. It's why they're wearing blankets called Irish knits and wool coolers, because they are helping to regulate their temperatures as we go. If they're getting really cold, they get the wool cooler. If they're getting really hot, they get the Irish knit. Same thing, we've had tons of people donate those to us so that we can help keep the horses regulated as needed. It's not something that we necessarily have in the barn for every single horse. On top of that, like I said, there's all of the hydrogen peroxides that are required, and if any of those horses are unable to drink or support themselves, we have to have the vet out. The vet has been here almost every 24, if not 48 hours. This has its own cost. The fluids have their own costs. The extra preventative medications have their own costs. And also, on top of that, it's emotionally draining. Our people need support for that side of things as well. There's food to support them emotionally. Like, there's owners who have lost their horses. I want to be able to provide them with all the care that they need so that they can feel better too. It's about the people and it's about the horses, and we're in this for a really long time.
Well, on that note, how long would you expect this to last? Do you have a best case and a worst case scenario?
Absolutely. So, best case scenario, this is all the sickness we're going to see. We have to get these 18 horses healthy again. After that, if we have no more fevers from this moment forward, we're at extreme risk for 21 days, and we are still at risk for a total of 100 days after the last known fever. That means we have to maintain these biosecurity protocols and extra care for the horses for almost 3.5 months at worst case. That is an extreme cost as well. Being able to maintain 2 different labor teams for that long while having lost horses, which is our income, while not being able to teach lessons, which helps support the VHF herd, because as a farm we own over 14 horses because we provide riding experiences for people who don't necessarily own their own horses. An experience we won't be able to do because we cannot risk people coming in and spreading the virus to other farms. It's absolutely not something we're willing to take the risk on, and we won't, which means we need to support this farm so that it can still be here 3.5 months from now to make sure that these horses are still healthy and can get out of this all okay, because we don't need to lose and we don't want to lose anyone else.
And this is all on top of the fact that it's already been a difficult time for the business with COVID-19, so it's kind of the last thing you need on top of the human pandemic is a horse pandemic.
Pretty much, and it's COVID, and it's the winter, and it's our own pandemic. We really have been hit in every way possible, and it's just not something that anybody wants to see. The horses we have at Venturing Hills Farm are our family, and we don't want to have to shut down after this. We want to be able to keep going for years and years and years, and we really need everybody's support and able to be able to do that.
And actually, I've noticed, I'm not directly involved with the business, but I've noticed in the time that I've been here this week and also just watching online, there's been a huge amount of support from lots of people in money, but also there's been so many people that have brought things or come to the barn to help out, and there's just been so much volunteer support that's been really moving to see. So I guess what we'd like you to do is make a donation as you would normally do through the donate button for the concert. And then we're going to take a portion of the proceeds from the concert and donate that to the funding campaign for the farm. But you can also make, if you'd like to, make another donation in whatever amount you would like directly to the fundraising campaign for the barn. How can people find that fundraising campaign online? We'll send a link to it, but if you're looking for it independently, what's the...
Absolutely. So we have a couple of different ways that you can help us right now. We have a GoFundMe that's been started and is being run by Anne-Marie Duarte. So if you look online at Venturing Hills GoFundMe, you can find us there. Another way of helping us is there's an Amazon wish list online, amazon.ca. You can look it up, and you can also find the link on our Venturing Hills Farm Facebook page. And there are also many different raffles happening online that we will be posting up as of tomorrow. With lots
tomorrow as in
the day of the concert,
so
which
today.
is actually today. And also tomorrow, though. Sunday and Monday we are going to be posting up all of the different raffles that are happening throughout the Ottawa area. So if there's anybody that you want to send that link to, any horse people that you might know that are going to be interested in some of the products, we would really appreciate that as well. Any and every little bit helps us, and every bit of support, even just the amazing messages that we have received, motivate us to keep going, because we're exhausted. We've been up every 2 hours for 2 weeks, and we don't know when that's going to stop, and we're okay with that if it means saving all of these horses.
Well, Ray, I'm going to let you get back to caring for your wonderful horses. By the way, who was the horse that was joining us in that conversation?
Liberty!
Liberty, okay.
This is my horse, and she's pretty wonderful. She's just young, and she's pretty new to this farm, but hopefully she's taking us to the Olympics one day, so she's got to make it through to get us there. And that's the dream. So I really want to live my dream, just like I know all of my clients want to live their dreams with their horses too. So please help us keep them healthy.
Well, Ray, thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you all enjoy the second half of the concert. I will just head back upstairs, change out of these clothes back into my concert clothes, and we'll be playing some music by Johannes Brahms for you. So thank you all so much, and Ray, thanks for your time.
Thank you. The horses are looking forward to the rest of the concert too. Thanks. Thank you.